12.
Chapter 16, verse 12, 1 Corinthians.
Oh, okay. I had it there and moved away from it. Yes, sir. That's what I have as well. Thank you.
This, I don't remember whose turn it is since we skipped last week. I've forgotten.
That's no problem. I'm sure Chris will be glad to jump right in there.
All right, I can take it. All right, I have Peri de Apollo, 2, Adelphu, Pola, per ecclesia, aton, ina, elthe, pros, umos, meta, ton, adelphon, kai, pantos, uk, ein, thelema, hina, nun, elthe, Sitai, de, oton, eukai, rese. I have, and concerning the brother Apollo, I greatly exhorted him that he should go with the brothers. But it was not his will to go now, but he will come when he shall have opportunity.
That sounds pretty good. Let's see, American Standard reads as touching. King James concerning. Is that how you render that?
Yeah, I did concerning for Peri.
Okay. I think that's probably touching is, it's accurate, but it's not quite as good as concerning, I think. Concerning the brother, Apollos, and Apollos the brother. And, this might make the unknown brother of 2 Corinthians 8:18 and 12:18 to be Apollos. It's he speaks of him as the brother. Some take this to mean that this is who he's referring to in these two passages that are just highlighted. We won't go look at them, but I just call your attention to that. And that's an idea. And it might be right. It's a possibility.
Okay, I've not heard that.
I besought him, encouraged him, say, parakaleo, exhorted him, and I gave him much exhortation in order that that he might come, subjunctive, unto you or toward you. And he's going to come with the brethren. So there were some brethren that were coming, and he exhorted Apollos to come with him. That's what he's saying. It's pretty clear here. And that's perfect tense. So maybe it was not. He was not willed, and was not his will, and continued not to be his will. So he's in perfect tense. He didn't have the will at that time, and he still doesn't have the will to come, in order that he might come now, not this time. But he will come when he shall have opportunity. So he wasn't willing to come, he was just unwilling to come at that time. I think obviously what Apollos had told him, he said, I can't come right now. Probably something to that effect, but I will come later. That's why I interpret this. All right. So he had some other things he had to do. All right. Any question there? So how was your rendering of it? Let's compare yours to mine.
And concerning the brother Apollo, I greatly exhorted him that he should go with the brothers, but it was not his will to go now, but he will come when he shall have opportunity.
Okay, you took Erechomines to go, or I'll put it as come. And there, it's just a kind of a toss-up as to which one is correct. Okay.
Okay.
I don't see any problem with your translation. James, you got anything you want to add there?
No, sir. Sounds good.
I was thinking of a doctrinal issue. You know, here you got an apostle that really wants him to go. You would think that would be enough, but he still has his free will and knows what his responsibilities are that he needs to do. To me, it was kind of baffling. If the apostle wanted him to go, you'd think he would jump at it, but we have to understand he knows what's best in his own mind for that situation. And someone had mentioned the scripture said the Lord will be with you wherever you go. And I thought maybe that's fitting for something like this, that the Lord could be with Apollos, even though he didn't want to go then, he could still be doing the Lord's work somewhere else.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't have to be working here at Barnes the rest of my life, but I probably will. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I could go somewhere else. I thought if they didn't want me to preach anymore, I would see if I could find some little country congregation that maybe had 30 or 40 members that couldn't pay a preacher, and I could preach for them for a few years. So I've always thought that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to retire. Maybe I need to. Can't tell, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's a good thought, though.
I don't see retiring from the Lord's work. I don't think you do that when you're in the grave. But go ahead, James. What were you going to say?
The only thing I was going to say is I have, and he will come whenever he might have opportunity. And I replaced you have when. I used whenever only because it's hotan is used, which is hota and on adds that little bit of uncertainty element to it.
Yeah.
So that was the only distinction I made.
Mood, see, when I might have an opportunity. Notice the opportunity is you, and I'll break it apart here just for a minute. You, which is good, and then Kairos from Kairos, it's an opportunity, it's a good opportunity, a good season, a good time for it. So when things are I think the Lord wants us to do what we can, and I don't think that a person like Apollos had to go to please the Lord. I think he probably was doing the Lord's work, and maybe he felt in his mind he was doing something more important than coming there to Corinth. And I wouldn't say he was doing wrong so, the apostle exhorted him to do it, didn't command him to do it. That's the thing here. Yeah. Other comments? All right, James, he's going to turn and exhort the church now.
Verse 13, then, you want me to proceed?
Please. Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Grego reta stakata ente piste andris zesta kratiusta. And I translated that as, just a minute here, please. You watch, stand fast in the faith, act like a man, be strong.
Okay. Notice how the King James American Standard would render them, quit like men. That's an interesting word. It's on air in the form of on air and then made into a verb form. And you can see the Andre as a prefix for this. So it's made into a verb. So the word man is made into a verb. So quit like a man. How did you render that now?
I have act like a man.
Act like a man. That's a good rendering. Okay. stand fast, a commandment, probably imperative mood, in the faith, be firm in it, and quit like you like men. And so that's andrizo or andrizomai, sermon there. And so here we have the noun form of this word, man. And this is a man, not a woman. It's a grown man too, not a boy. So to make a man, to make one brave. It's found 21 times in the Greek translation of the Old Testament, the LXX, the Septuagint, and all these passages here. That's very interesting if you look at how they're rendered back there. How was used. Now, I know that's a translation, but it at least shows you how these people who understood the Old Testament understood this word. The Old Testament translators of the Septuagint version. And particularly, let me call your attention to particularly so the Pentateuch, that would be Deuteronomy 31:6 and 31:7 and 23, were considered to be very accurate translations of the Hebrew into the Greek. I don't think the book of Daniel is supposed to be a very good translation. Daniel 10:19. I haven't studied what the authorities tell us, but they do, authorities that I read tell us that the Pentateuch is supposed to be real accurate. And accurate translation from the Hebrew into the Greek in the Septuagint. He's telling them to be brave in the face of persecution. Now, I discussed this passage in my Royal Women, Volume 1, 2006, and page 134, and page 134 of the combined volume. So that'd be the same document. I just put volumes 1 and 2 together, and volume 2 became the continuing chapter after volume 1 ended. So it says to be strong and act like a man, and be strong. And this is the present imperative, and it is the middle passive form. I take it to be middle voice, so I interpret it. So it's a middle passive form, but I notice I've underlined middle, and that's what I'm convinced that's probably the correct rendering of it. This verse has 4 imperative mood verbs, all right? And this is to wake up, to wake yourself up, to stand, and conduct yourself like a man. And our last word here, this one here, and to be strong, and it's from kratos, to have strength, inner strength. Right? So watch, stand fast by means of the faith. I translated that by means of, or in the faith. I translated it as an instrumental case rather than locative case, but I did footnote it as locative. And conduct yourselves like men. That's how I translated that. And strengthen yourselves. I went ahead and translated those as middle voices. Any questions?
Looks good.
All right. All right, let's try verse 14. Now we got back to a short one for Chris and kind of make up for that long one he had at the beginning.
Well, sounds good. Panta humon in agape genesto. I have let all your things be done in love.
Okay, let all of your things. And you went ahead because that's neuter. That's why you put things. Is that right?
Yeah, I have neuter for that.
Yeah. Okay. Let all of your things be done in love. And in could be instrumental case too, couldn't it?
Yeah, so by
means of love. And that would be just as legitimate. This, of course, is agape love. And agape, look at all the places it's found in the First Corinthians several times. And agapao, the noun form of it, verb form, I'm sorry, is found in twice. Just highlighted them right there. And then the adjective agapetos is found in chapter 4, 14, 17, 10, 14, and 15, 58. And clearly, I'm saying all of the instructions of verse 13 are to be done in love. But this is probably more far-reaching. It may include all that we both think, say, and do. I don't think it's just limited to verse 13. I think that all things, all your things. And I would not limit it to just verse 13. I think it's your whole life. It's to be done. That all your things come into existence by means of love. I went ahead and put it as instrumental. But I did footnote it, or in love, or with love. Right? And let's see this come into existence. It's from ginomai to become or to come into existence.
I like how you translated that with ginomai, with come into existence. Very literal. I like that.
And I think we need to make our thinking cause us to do these things and to make them part of our very fiber. So we cause them to come into existence, right? And we're not passive in it. We got to be busy trying to do it. I know I have to work on myself every day to be sure I'm doing right and try to make sure that I want to eventually get to where everything that I do, my goal is to everything I do to be based upon the principles. And I just think the principles and don't even have to worry about temptations. But I don't think I'll ever reach that point. Okay. All right. Any questions? All right, we're back to James. James, you got a long one now. Sorry about that.
Yes, sir.
Verse 15 through 18, it's an entreaty regarding certain ones who are given much of themselves to advance the cause of Christ. So he mentioned those who had given very much. And there's a lot of people that give much of their time and their goods and so forth. And we really don't appreciate those who contribute well and maybe have a good job and they use that money for the glory of the Lord. And sometimes we have members that will take care of the building and they're doing little things that nobody sees. And sometimes we don't even honor them for it. I think that's a shame. But I've got off on preaching now instead of teaching. Go ahead with verse 15, if you will.
Parakalo de humas adelphoi, oidata tes oikion, Stephana hotiestin aparke tes akaias, kais diakonian tois hagiois staxon heautus. And I translated that as, and I urge you, brothers, you know the house of Stephanas, that is the first fruit of Achaia, and have placed themselves in service to the saints.
Okay. And place themselves. And makes sense, set themselves, but placed is probably maybe a good rendering too. Place themselves. I like that. Now I beseech you, and that's the exhortation again. He's exhorting him again. Brethren, and there's no close relationship than a brother and sister. Right? In spite of their having their problems, Paul still treated them as brothers, and we should treat a brother even if he's sinned. We should treat him as a brother. If he's done wrong, we admonish him, but we don't treat him as an enemy, we treat him as a brother. Right? You know the house, so you have knowledge, you have experience. Right? So this is Idane, much less physical than the wrong. It ain't not to perceive with the eyes. So I know it, I understand it, and it's in my mind. It's an activity of the soul right here. So it begins, it goes into my thinking processes. I think we need to understand that the gospel God wants the gospel to permeate our very fiber and influence how we think, which will eventually control our speech and our actions. So the house, and this is Oikeia, this is the house of dwelling. Oikos is could entail the people. Right here, the house of Stephanos, and the house of David is his family, and whereas the place they live is put for the people. I think it's a figure of speech for us here, and probably a synecdoche, where the house is put for the family. Let me highlight that. And I believe it's a collective noun, and you know the house of Stephanos. And again, he's mentioned these other passages down here in this book, chapter 116 here and 16:17, that the house of Stephanos, is the first fruits. Now, who got the first fruits under the law of Moses? To whom was the first fruits given? Did they go to God?
Yes, we're
Yeah.
given to God.
I don't know if this is what he's referring to here, or if he's just saying they were the first converts. But he may be using it both ways. But I've taken it to be the first converts, some of the first converts of Achaia. Achaia was a Roman province. Achaia. And this means he was one of the early converts. That's the way I've taken it. Now, Christians are part of the harvest that are given to God. I think we can make a point that we are dedicated to God, like the first fruits were dedicated to God in the Old Testament. They were His, given to Him. But if we press that too far, I think we maybe get ourselves in trouble. So I take this just to be some of the first converts. That's how I interpret it, rather than going back to the principle of first fruits under the law of Moses. Okay, any question? That's my reasoning for it. And that they set, so that's Tasso, they assigned themselves, they set themselves to minister. So they made the decision they were going to serve the Lord. Who are going to minister to the saints? Now, what does it take to make one great? If you want to be great, you got to become a what?
Servant.
You got to become a servant. And I believe we see them ministering. They would minister. They would serve the church, serve the saints. And he wills to be great must be a servant. We see this in the passage on the bottom of the screen now, Mark 10:43. And that's ministers diakonos, and he shall be your servant doulos. That's a slave. And so the minister is diakonia, variation, a different form of it, but same root word as diakonos in Matthew 10:43. Any question? So he was ministering to the saints. I don't know how he ministered. He might have had money, and he might have been supporting preachers. He might have been taking saints into his home. He might have been having the church to worship in his home. He might have been doing all of those things and a bunch of other things. So we don't know. He might have been a teacher. We just don't know. but he was ministering to the church. Now, collective nouns with plural verbs. And so right here, this is, according to Porter, he said, you know, the house Stephanos, that it singular is, the first fruit of Achaia, and they appointed themselves, plural, for the service of the saints. So I think the house of Stephanos is that family, and they, plural, set out to serve the saints. So I don't think it's just Stephanos, but I believe it's his whole family. And his family, and I would include probably his wife and maybe even children, and maybe an extended family might have had. In those times, you didn't have nursing homes. You take your parents into your home with you, and they might have been. We just don't know, but I would say there's a plurality, and that was more than Stephanos. That's about all I can say. Does that make sense? And so many times we have preachers that do a great work, and their wives are kind of in the background, and they're doing a great work too. And we don't even give them the credit that they deserve. But God will take care of it in the day of judgment, won't he? I believe he will. I'm sorry, I'm getting off again. I get into this. Verse 15, I beseech you, brethren. How did you translate that now, James?
And I urge you, brothers.
Okay, beseech, urge. I urge is good rendering. Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, you know the house of Stephanos, that is the first fruit of Achaia. I think the Greek is literally that, and have placed themselves in service of the saints.
Okay, I put ministry, set themselves to, place themselves, set themselves to the ministry of the saints. Pretty much the same rendering, not much difference. Yours might have some improvement, or it might be an improvement. I'll go back and look at it. All right, any questions? Okay, verse 16, if you will. I think we're back to Chris, I believe.
Yes. All right. Hinakai, humais, hupo tose ste, tois, toi utois kai, honti to, sun ergointai, kai, kopiontai. I have that you also subject yourselves to such and to everyone that is working with us and laboring.
Okay. And so that you subject yourself to them. All right. Now, I find that interesting. Subject yourself to someone who's being a servant. Maybe you can help them in their service. I think might be just a way of saying help them in their service. And again, this is present subjunctive, and I need to modify that a bit. It is middle passive, but I take it to be middle. I'll underline it there. So I believe it's middle passive form, but I take it to be middle. So subject yourself instead of being it. We're not to be in subjection, we're to subject ourselves. I think there's a difference. We're not passive in it. We have to make ourselves do it. We have to decide we're going to do this, and we consciously subject ourselves, okay, under such. Now, this word such is an interesting word. How did you render that now? Help me go back again.
Such as those.
Such as those. All right. This is toios and hutos. All right. Such as this, somebody of this nature. He's not just saying subject yourselves to Stephanos, but he makes it broader, makes it more generic. Subject yourself to anyone who is of this nature that does this kind of thing that they do. So it becomes a generic commandment. These words make this generic. to the ones of this sort, or to anyone like his house or his family. The subjection here might be merely following their example of their lives. And so when I follow someone's example, I've kind of, in a sense, subjected myself to that person by doing what he's doing and letting him be my leader, letting him be my guide. And he's my pattern. So that's how I view that, the subjection there. Now, and certainly they could take on roles to help as helpers to the Stephanus and his household and do anything to help in their work. And they might have put themselves under Stephanus. Here's a man that's doing a lot of great works, and so we subject ourselves and we follow his lead and let him even help us and guide us and teach us how to do this job better. And we can always learn. I don't care how old you are, you can learn. And to everyone that help us in the work and laboreth. So it says, to everyone that help us. So you submit yourselves unto such, and to everyone that help us with us and labors. So you don't just submit to him, but you submit to everyone that helps with us. Help us in the work, see. And this is soon ergomai, or soon ergeo, and that's work. Ergon is a work, the word work. Soon is the word preposition with, I've highlighted here. So your companions with them, it might be just financial help, but it certainly would be broader than that. And a person might be not have much money and be able to contribute his help is by his labor. I think just going out and man's holding a gospel meeting, we go out and hand out literature, inviting people to the meeting, and going from house to house and handing out materials. I try to get people to take correspondence courses and things of that nature. And labor, I see, he help us in everyone that helps, all those that help in the work. And labor, this is toilsome labor, right? This is not two groups of people. The ones helping were the same ones that were laboring. Let me show that. I want you to understand this, okay? To the ones like this of such, and all the ones laboring together and working. So right here, to all the ones laboring, participle, and laboring or toiling, or labors, toilsome labor, helping and laboring. And so these are two participles. Sharp's rule says, if two nouns, adjectives, or participles are joined by the word kai, right there's kai, and the first one has the article, which we have here, but the second one doesn't, then the two are the same thing, or they're treated as a unit. Okay, that help? I think I may have that rule down here. Yeah, here it is. I'll highlight it. And also, Daniel Wallace's book has a lengthy discussion of that. So this is not two groups of people. The ones helping were the same ones who were laboring. They were both helping and laboring. Okay. Any question? So I rendered it, and you submit yourselves unto such. And I footnoted that 658 ones under the ones of this sort, both to everyone that is helping with us and laboring. And then I said, or with them, with us, with them. Okay. So the laboring with doesn't, see, it kind of just hangs out there. Is it laboring with us or laboring with them? That's why I footnoted it both ways as a possibility. Fine with us and laboring. Any question? Right. And I don't think either interpretation causes any problems. Either helping or laboring with us or laboring with the man that is just Stephanus that is mentioned, laboring with him too. Okay. All right. Any questions? All right. Verse 17. I think we're back to James. Is it your turn? I can't remember.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Would you read, please?
Yes. Cairo de hetite parousia Stephana kai furtu natu kai akaiku hotito humon euster rema hutoi anaplerosan. And I translated that as, and I rejoice at the coming of Stephanus and Fortunatus and Achaicus, because that which was lacking from you, they fulfilled.
Okay. Yeah, I rejoice. And wasn't it wonderful to make one of the apostles happy? And I can see so much grief they had in their life because they were so persecuted, and they still rejoiced in the Lord, but they were so happy to have brethren working hard. When I see a church that's working hard, it just buoys me right up. I just get excited about it. Okay. I don't know if you do, but I do. I get it. Just kind of makes me feel good all over to see brethren doing what's right. And so I rejoice at the coming and the parousia, and its presence come upon. Paranemi is what it is. It's from that verb, paranemi, and I'll break it apart. You can see the emi and the para. The office dropped off, of course, because of this diphthong. Shorten it. And to come with, see, to come beside, or along with is probably better rendering. Stephanus and Fortunatus. We don't know much about this man. Stephanus is mentioned in these passages here, and Fortunatus is only mentioned in this one verse as far as I know. And so, as far as we know, he's a Christian at Corinth, and we know he's probably laboring. This other man's only mentioned here as well. Right? Now, there's a variant spelling on this word here. And let me point out, variant spellings don't really bother me that much because if one of my sermons were transcribed by somebody into English, someone took a recording of a sermon I preached, and I had the word labor in the sermon, or I had the word labor, and it was transcribed in the United States, it would be spelled L-A-B-O-R. If that same sermon were transcribed in England, it would be L-A-B-O-U-R. It would be spelled differently. And I think we have that same situation going on in the Greek language when the translations were being made. Same variance in spelling. You know, and before the King James translation was translated, not long before that, they tried to standardize the words. Before that, some of the translations, they just spelled the word just however they thought it sounded. And there was no standardized spelling. And so the Cambridge and Oxford universities decided that they'd try to standardize, and they developed a dictionary with standard spellings. And that's probably not something that's important to us, but so when you get into this variation in the spelling, to me, it's no big deal. I can't see any way that it causes any problem for us in interpreting the Bible. All right, any questions? for that which was lacking or deficient on your part, they supplied. Okay. They filled the vessel up to the brim. That's what that says. Pleroo is I fill. Pleroo. I'll try to highlight it, but hopefully it won't. And there we go. Pleroo is I fill, and ana is up. So I just fill it up to the brim. And I'm reminded of the Lord saying, you know, he will heap it up and run it over. My cup runneth over, didn't the psalmist say? And so you give me more than I can need, than I really need, Lord. And they probably brought support from the church in Philippi and served as laborers in the Lord's kingdom, as what have you, in verse 16. So they went, filled everything up and gave more than filled it up to the brim. That's actually probably is what it's saying. And I rejoice at coming both Stephanas and Fortunatus and Achaicus, for that which was lacking on your part they supplied. I went up pretty much like the American Standard. Right. They supplied. That's to fill up to the brim. Okay. Let's see, verse 18. I guess it's back to Chris. It's too bad we don't have a couple of more guys in here so you guys wouldn't have to work so hard. But I appreciate your staying with it. Verse 18, please, if you would, Chris.
All right. Anna pasan gar to imon numa kai to homon epigenos gete un tos toi utos. For they have refreshed my spirit and yours. Acknowledge them. They are such, or such as these.
Okay. And I think I've got a mistake here in this. I've got it on a pleroo, and that's wrong. I'm going to go back and fix that. This is paso, pao, and it's anapao, I think. That's what I think this word is. So I think I've got a mistake here. I just noticed that. And so that's to pause and to refresh yourself. For they refreshed my spirit and they refreshed yours. So that's a mistake. I'll correct that before I go to bed tonight. My spirit, the spirit of me. And your spirit as well. And the elliptical article toe here, toe has to modify something. So I'll put my cursor right there. And it's a neuter article. And it goes back and it's just the same as this right here, toe pneuma. And then the toe, and then a view. So if we go back and look at it here, it's toe pneuma, toe, and amon is emphatic. It's an emphatic form, and so it has a diacritical marking. The epsilon at the beginning makes it emphatic. The spirit of me, my spirit, and the something, say. But whatever it is neuter and picks it up from the context. I'll take it to be the word spirit, and the spirit, your spirit. And so I would say I probably rendered that a little bit literal. Let me see what I did. I'm down here. Let's see. It's my spirit and your spirit. And I put the word spirit in italics. I believe it's implied by the article. That's what I'm saying. And yours, and the article there. I make it elliptical. Acknowledge, now acknowledge, therefore, them that are such. Now, acknowledge is probably it's a good rendering, and nothing wrong with it, but it's epignosko, and of course, gnosko is elementary knowledge. Right there, gnosko, and epi makes it more strengthens it, more thorough. It's a greater, more thorough knowledge, more complete knowledge. And so that you get to know them, become very closely acquainted with the kind of people that are doing this, such like Stephanus and his household and those that are like him. And the word knowing God, the idea of knowing God is to be intimate with God, develop a close relationship with God. And so I think we have to understand that, and that's probably how he's using it here, to become close to these people. If you become close to people that are spiritually minded, I think some of it will rub off on us, if I might use that term. Does that make sense, what we're saying? They can influence us, and by their examples and to even greater heights of spirituality. Right? How did you render this? Go back and tell me.
For they have refreshed my, or even my spirit and yours. I put acknowledge them, but from what you're saying, maybe get to know them well. They are such as these.
I went ahead and acknowledged, but notice I footnoted it. I went with acknowledge, but I did footnote it to come to thoroughly know anyone like them, or become thoroughly acquainted with anyone like them. Right now, so I footnoted it that way. Does that help?
Yes.
Yeah. I think just getting together with fellow Christians, being around them, we can become stronger. And I think it's good for saints to get together. And, I like to go visit my brethren and go to see them, be with them together. I know it's good to be together in the worship, and that's certainly one good place to do it. But I think we can go from house to house and visit people too. Just go to see them, encourage them, particularly when someone becomes ill or they need some help or something. I know sometimes someone who's not feeling well, he's having trouble, he's sick, and some brother comes over and mows his lawn for him. Okay. And the two of them they sit down and just visit and talk about the Bible for a while. And no one of them not be teaching the other, just studying together. That can happen. I've seen it happen, heard it happening. And just that time together can cause us to become stronger.
It does, but how does that acknowledge them? You spoke of being together as a group and getting to know each other, but how's that an acknowledgement? Doesn't that question make sense?
I think the word acknowledge, we'd have to look at it. Probably the English word probably carries a synonym to admit, recognize, allow, accept, or concede. That's what it means according to synonyms for it.
So recognize, and I translated mine with recognize. What would you say as something that recognizes someone?
Well, I think it's kind of hard. I think the idea of getting to know them better is probably the better rendering rather than acknowledge. Right.
Okay, I didn't know if it fit with the give honor to whom honor is due, if that in some way played into this.
But it might. It certainly could, because he's built these people up as being someone to be almost to be followed and submitted to. And so you would submit to them because of their position, their role, and what they're doing. They're great, and they're great but being a servant, and just do what they're doing and become like them. And so you acknowledge them. But I like my footnote.
Okay.
And I went ahead with acknowledge, but the King James American Standard, I think both have acknowledge. But I went with that, but I put the footnote down here. You come to thoroughly know anyone like them or become thoroughly acquainted with anyone like them. I think we don't study on the word know. They shall all know the Lord from the least to the greatest. It's in Hebrews twice and also in 31st chapter of Jeremiah 31 to 34. Chapter 31, verse 31 to 34. And I think that's an important doctrine, coming to know the Lord. All right, any questions? We're just about where we come to the end of the night. All right, we've gone about 45 minutes or so, approximately, maybe 50. And why don't we pick up with verse 19 next time? Any questions?
No, sir. Thank you for the class.
Yeah. Thank you for the class. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good night.
All right, take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.